Hola a todos. I have talked to a couple of you guys about how we're doing on Lección 8, and I was going to just send you this. Maybe if you organize it this way, it clicks a little bit differently, so hopefully you can better understand how it is that we create comparisons. So if you are looking at your textbook on your eCompanion, we're looking at page 281, Estructura 8.3. And it first starts talking to you about the comparisons of inequality. What does that mean? The two things that we're comparing are different. And in that, we are able to then say something is more or less. So when you're looking at my little piece of paper, you're noticing that we can compare qualities and quantities. And we'll talk about that more as we go. But qualities are basically your descriptions, things that people do. Quantities are things that people have in that sense. So let's go here and we'll start back to inequality, meaning that there is more or less. So if you notice, and I'm a very visual person, so hopefully this works for you guys. If not, the book does a really good job also explaining it for you. You have a subject and you have a verb to describe the quality. So if you're doing a description, it would be the verb ser, but it could be any other verb. You could say that someone sings nicer than somebody, or that somebody runs faster, okay? So you have a subject that you're comparing, then a verb. Now we're going to compare the inequality of more, más, then that adjective matching, and then you have the connector que, and then the next subject. So what does this particular activity look like? You could say something like, María es más alta que Juan. Notice, subject number one, your verb, then your más, meaning your comparative particular word here for inequality of more, then that adjective matching my first subject. So notice that I've made it feminine. Even though I'm comparing her to Juan, she is my point of reference. So, María es más alta que Juan. Other option, Mateo corre más rápido que Carlos. Okay? So again, we are creating an inequality, meaning that someone is more or less than somebody else. And in this case, my first subject is Mateo. My verb is to run más rápido, again, the adjective, than Carlos. Okay? So that's when we're comparing something as more. All right. Now let's go ahead and compare something that is less, which is right here. And if you notice, it's going to be the same idea on how we structure our components in a sentence. Okay? So you have your first subject, then a verb, menos, because now we're comparing that someone or something is less than something else. So let's go ahead and say that Antonia es menos amable que Manuela. Okay? So she is less nice than this other person. Or for example, you can say Tobias come menos que Andrés. Okay? So we can do that. And in these, you can use adjectives or adverbs. Okay? Corre menos lentamente than somebody else. So again, these are your comparatives of quality that are more or less. Now, when we're looking at quantity, okay, it'll change slightly different, but not a whole lot. Only thing that is key is that we have to add what it is that we're quantifying. What is it that someone has more or less? For example, Mónica tiene más libros que Pedro. So notice in my little thing, Mónica is my subject number 1. Then a verb, to have. More of what? What item am I comparing? What does Mónica have more than Pedro? In this case would be libros que Pedro. Another example could be Miguel compra más manzanas que Norma. Notice again, same structure, okay? It's a very visual thing of having subject number 1 with that verb, and that verb matches your subject, okay? I'm going to give you a different example so that you can see that. Más, now what is it that he's buying more? Manzanas than Norma. And here's what I meant with the matching of the subject. Nosotros leemos más artículos que nuestros hermanos. So just because we're comparing and a lot of the examples are a one-to-one doesn't mean that we can't do it with groups. So for example, here our subject number 1 is us. We read. So notice that the verb leemos in the present, just a simple one, matches that subject number 1. Nosotros leemos más, more of what? What item? Artículos, que nuestros hermanos. Okay, so this is the more or less. And, oh, let me undo this. Okay. And so here it's going to be the same down below, the inequality, but instead of more, it's going to be less. So again, just using the same type of activities, we can go, Mónica tiene menos libros que Pedro, and Miguel compra menos manzanas que Norma, o nosotros leemos menos artículos que nuestros hermanos. Again, please notice that this is a comparison of inequality. Okay? If you're having a little balance, one side is going to be more and one side is going to be less. Okay? And then these particular ones that we've done of quality and quantity, okay, they have 2 different subjects. But what if I wanted to compare the inequality within myself or just one person? And that's when we go down here. Okay? If you notice, the subject is the same, but we're going to compare the things that happen to that. Okay? So, for example, profesora lee menos que corre.